Hey, Val.
Hey Tiff, we making it
We made it to another Tuesday
another Tuesday.
in
Yes.
full countdown mode. I am sure I know I ask you this every week as we approach the end of the school year, but I'm sure you are excited with each day that draws us closer, right?
One Monday left.
Oh, snap. One Monday left. I can feel your excitement through the screen.
Listen, I told my son earlier today, he was asking me, well, how was today? Was it good? And I was like, I'm one day closer to the end of the school year. He's like, Mom, that's not positive. Oh, yes, it is, because that means I'm a day closer to the summer. That's
Right.
positive.
Yeah. I know some people are like, all the teachers, all they talk about is making it to the end of the school year. Don't they love their job? You can love something and be happy when that something is done.
Absolutely. Like I feel like there's a problem if you don't need some sort of break in between what you love to do. Like at some
Right.
point.
Yeah. I love my child. I also enjoy when he goes to bed because now I have time for myself.
Exactly.
You can have both. Awesome. Well, my job is year round, so there's no more summer break for me, but I'm excited for you and all of my teacher friends and those teachers listening out there too.
Well, thank
Which,
you. We appreciate that.
yes, yes. Well, I know that the end of the year rolls right into our topic for tonight, which is some tips for the end of the school year for parents. So, anybody watching, you're a teacher, you have kids in school, this is going to be an important episode for you because I think we will give some insight into what the last couple of weeks of school typically look like. I know it's different for every district, every state, but typically how things kind of roll at the end of the school year. And then, as always, we have tips and suggestions for parents and teachers to how to make the end of the school year a little more pleasant, I think. So, how does
Yeah.
the school year usually end for you?
Well, since we're currently in it, what's happening is um all the times throughout the year, every week, about twice a week, 2 to 3 times a week, I tell these kids when it's the end of the year, I need you to
Mm,
remember I don't have any sympathy for you. Because I know what has happened throughout the school year. Okay.
mhm,
Every week I remind you of what you are responsible for and what you should be doing. So at the end, I've done what I've needed to do. Well, here we are. And some of the children are stressing. They didn't believe me all year. And a lot of the children did believe me, and they're like, well, I'm good. I'm good. So I have students that I've had to call their parents today,
mm,
and have conferences with the students themselves and say, you see what your grade is right now?
yep,
Do you see the work that you did not do?
yep.
Here's the result. What do you think? Oh, okay, Ms. Wilson, what can I do? And it's just like it takes away, it over the years, it has taken away all of the what's something you didn't do and you should da da da. These kids are coming to me scared. Like,
Oh,
I know you told me not to ask. Um, and I didn't want to ask, but I know my mama gonna kill me.
nothing wrong with a little fear of parents bringing home bad grades. I think that just shows that you care, and I think that's a good piece to mention because when the parents care, the kids care. When the parents act like they don't care, then the kids, of course, naturally, they're going to act like they don't care most times either. So, what about those students who are failing at the end of the school year? What are some of the things that you say to them or they say to you?
um, well, they do have an opportunity uh, to not be failing. The ones that it's possible for. Now, the ones that it is not possible for, like
Mhm.
because I've had this conversation throughout the year, like there was one kid and I said, "Listen, you need 100 this 9 weeks just to pass for the year. And I said, based on the amount of work you haven't done, I said, I don't think that that's going to happen that way.
Yeah.
So it would make you look better going into the next year with as high a grade as possible, even though it's failing. So kind of just letting them know that there's no need to quit, like there's no need to give up. You still want to do the best you can with what you have. That's usually the type of conversation I have.
So, is there room for these students to get a bump in their grade? I know it's where you said you got one more Monday left. Final grades have been turned in or no?
No,
Okay.
grades aren't final. So it's not final till it's final. I
Okay.
mean,
So, parents hear that. It's not final till it's final. So, that's something important to know.
yeah, all you just have to make sure as the parent. I guess one piece of advice I could give is when it's like the last 3 weeks, coming to the last 2 weeks of school, like go ahead and make contact with the teacher. Get on, stay on daily, every 30 minutes if you can. The online system that the school has where you can access your kids' grades. But go ahead and make that contact if you think there's going to be a problem. This is not the time you want to wait for the teacher to call you.
Mm, I like that. And so then with all these electronic grading systems now, it's no longer you waiting on the paper progress report to come home at the end of the quarter or the report card to be mailed home. Parents can get online and check their kids' grade throughout the school year. Look to see what assignments are missing. So if you have a student who's missing a bunch of assignments and now we're here in the last 1 or 2 weeks of school, as a teacher, do you give them the opportunity to complete those assignments or do extra work in place of those assignments?
I usually do not give extra work. My philosophy is you had to do what I gave you to begin with for
Mm.
something to be extra. So in most of these cases, the kids they did not do some things. And when they haven't, it really depends on what that is, or it depends on how far back that assignment was. So I had a student who missed a day in like the third 9 weeks, and she didn't make up the test. And so I got a call like last week. The parent wants her to make up this test. Well, technically, it's a little too late.
Mm,
But sometimes things can be done. It just depends on where you are, and it depends on who your administration is and what their philosophy is. But
gotcha.
definitely, if you haven't kept up with it and we're at the end and you have something missing, it's honestly the teacher's discretion. That most schools have windows where if you miss something, you have this many days to make that up once you miss it. The teachers have leeway, like I said, but if this is a kid who just has not been doing all year long, and especially if the teacher has stayed on top of that kid, it's
Yeah.
likely that they might not get to do that. So they're kind of out of luck. They got summer school, possibly
Yeah.
in the middle school level,
Yeah.
things look a little different.
So I've heard of this term from other teacher friends, completion grades. So it's the end of the school year, kids need a bump in their end of year grade. And there's this idea of completion grades where any assignment that they turn in is graded as being completed, not necessarily if all the answers are correct or if the product that they've given is at a certain standard. It's just, did you hand it in? Is that kind of a philosophy or practice of yours in your classrooms or in your school?
In my experience, I've given completion grades. They're usually not just at the end of the year. Like these types of grades happen all throughout the year, to be honest. And once you get to the end, contrary to popular belief, most teachers want their kids to pass. Like we don't want to hold them back. And so we tend to give more of those types of grades towards the end to try to help the students out. But it's not guaranteed. Again, it depends on the teacher and how they feel about how they run their class.
Yeah, yeah. I remember being in college and I was not the best student the first couple of years of college. And I missed some classes, missed some assignments, and it got to the end of the semester and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have a low grade in this class. And I reached out to the professor and made up some story, so sorry I missed class all those times. Whatever the excuse was I gave, is there anything I could do to bump up my grade? She just didn't even respond to my email. I had not built up a stellar reputation for myself in her class. Of course, college level, my parents aren't reaching out to the professor, but I hadn't established that relationship with the teacher either. So, do you feel like if you throughout the school year have developed the relationship with your students, with their parents, then that way you can kind of help keep things on track so we don't have this end of the quarter or end of the school year kind of panic to pull a grade up?
Absolutely. I mean, it's when we've talked about this on our show before. Um, if you're not keeping up as you go along, this is how you get caught up in these situations at the end. When we first started our show back in December, we kind of reiterating the same sort of things is at the end of a semester, final grades are coming, and then there's panic.
Mm.
And even though there are things that can be done in that panic time, let's start being proactive. Like, I mean, wouldn't you say as a parent that has helped you?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I feel like schools try to keep parents in the loop by bringing on these electronic grading systems where you all put your grades in online. Parents can view it. Students can view their grades throughout the course of the school year. I know in Georgia, a lot of school districts use Infinite Campus. And then, do some of those systems give alerts to parents? Like if a grade falls below a certain point on an assignment or at a certain time in the school year, do parents get an alert? Say, hey, this assignment's missing, or hey, this was a low grade.
These systems are amazing. I'm kind of glad this wasn't around when I was in school. Um, because it does all of those things. Now for the parent, it's not just an app you can download and then all of a sudden you can see your kids grades. You have to go to the school and the school has to connect you to the system with like a username and a password and those kinds of things, but it can be set up to give you all kinds of alerts. There's so many functions. I don't even know all the functions, but missing grades definitely. It can alert you as soon as a teacher puts a grade in. It can
Oh,
send
wow.
you a notification. It can alert you if your student missed school that day or if your student was tardy for a class. It can send a notification. So these online grading systems are fabulous for that.
Okay, I love that. So I know you said parents have to come to the school to get their login and password. So do you feel like the electronic grading system is very intuitive? Like it's easy to kind of navigate. Once I get my login and password, I can click around and kind of figure out how to look at the things I want to see?
It depends on the person. Um, it depends on even the most tech savvy people have experienced like some difficulty just kind of
Okay.
navigating it and knowing where to go. Takes a little bit of a learning curve, but I mean, like most things, once you got it, you got it. I suggest just being really curious. So taking some time to go in and really just click around and seeing what information you land on when you click.
Mm. I think it'd be helpful if schools had some type of how to use Infinite Campus if that's what their school or their district is using, like at the beginning of the school year, maybe towards the middle of the school year, 'cause sometimes you have kids transfer in, after a holiday break or something like that. So at certain points in the school year, offering this um, service of sorts for parents to either come into the school to kind of get, a rundown on how to use it. Here's the latest tips and tricks, whether it's the IT person or a teacher who's really proficient in using it, because it's one thing to make a resource available it's another thing to explain how to use the resource in the attended way. Because if you just say, "Oh, well, look, we put this grading system out there. Parents can check grades," and they don't know that they have to come to the school and get a log, and they think it's an app they can just download from maybe the school's website or the app library, or they feel like, I could just figure this out, and there's so much more that they can do with this application, this grading system, than they are aware of, then it kind of negates the point of even spending the money because this is not free for school districts. They're paying money to have this
Exactly.
service available.
Exactly. And yeah, and you know, a lot of school systems have realized that and they have put resources out there. So I know a school system that has a video posted that walks you through how to do it. I know school systems that have invited parents to come in for those tutorials that you're speaking about. And as educators, a lot of times our question for that would be to the parents, like, what's the best way to get you this tutorial, to do this how to with you? Because the meetings that I've been in where that's been the purpose, very few parents show up.
Mm, yeah. Like they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So you can put the tutorial out there. I think the video is good that parents can just click and watch the video at their leisure. Um, I do feel like there's an onus on the parents too, because you have to want to know this information. You have to want to know how to access this information. And as we talk about grades, I think the same thing is true for all the students who get special ed services. You need to know what that progress report is looking like at the end of the school year. Those progress reports go out every 9 weeks, and you need to be aware of what progress your kid has made towards their goals. So they do get their end of the year grades, but they're also tracking progress on their goals as well. So
Mhm.
making sure that you're checking in with your child's special education teacher. Are they on track to meet their goal? Have they met it? Do we need to adjust the goals? So I feel like that's a component that parents need to initiate that outreach because the special education teachers are not reaching out above and beyond that progress reporting time throughout the school year as is indicated on the school calendar. So there is definitely a responsibility for parents. So any parents listening, you can't be spoon fed everything. The school puts some things in place. Yes, the school has their challenges, but we as parents have to take that ownership to advocate for our kid. And that starts with educating ourselves to know what the heck is going on. And if we just sit back and wait for the schools to let us know, we're going to miss some important information for sure.
Definitely. And I would also say to educators as well, even though those things are out there, it's we still have to be intentional about reminding the parents that those things are out there before we get in these situations at the
Mhm.
end of a grading session. So, you know, when you publicize sports, the sporting events, the basketball, the football, the track, and all of that, like, let's also remind parents that here's Infinite Campus if that's the system that your school is using. And please remember to check that weekly, daily if you want to.
I love
Just
that
remind you.
idea. I like that. I can see like the track meet, the football game, and there's this little IT person with the table set up with the Infinite Campus banner on the table. Hey, come stop right here and let me just show you real quick how you can do this real fast in Infinite Campus or whatever the grading system is to access your kids' grade while we out here celebrating teams. Let's make
That is
sure
a
we
great idea. Like, we even have a comment, one that says a lot of parents are active and present at their child's athletic events. Maybe
Mhm.
coaches can make it a requirement for parents to sign up for Infinite Campus at the parent meeting for that particular
I
sport.
like
I think
that.
that's a fabulous
That's a great
idea and a
idea.
great way to collaborate between school and home.
Yeah, great suggestion. I like that one too. Um, so I know with state testing ending before the end of the school year, what are you all end like 2 weeks before the end of the school year, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on these last couple of weeks of school? I have my own assumptions, but maybe maybe I'm assuming wrong. What's going on these last
Uh,
2 weeks?
I can tell you what my kids want to be happening. They they want me to pull up Disney Plus or whatever subscription plan is available so they can watch movies.
That's what I assumed. It's movie watching time. Clean out your desk, pack up your stuff, throw away things you don't need.
Yeah, we're not watching movies in my room. There are
Oh,
people that
wow.
do that, but I don't. I just told my kids this year, since I'm really into like personal development and making yourself better and all of that kind of stuff. I said, well, this is what we're gonna be doing for the next couple of weeks. You're gonna be listening to the Audible books that I listen to on my car ride, and then we're going to be having some discussions about how to be better people, how to be more successful, how to just, progress in life.
I like
Besides
that.
that, I'm not going to do that the whole time. I teach eighth graders. Um, we're gonna play some games. A lot of it's still gonna have to do with math. The professional educator response is we are going to prepare them for the new year. We're gonna prep them with some stuff they'll learn for next year, or we're going to review what we've already done this year during
Okay.
these times.
So hold on. You got a
Mhm,
class full of students
mhm,
that know they have finished end of year testing.
mhm,
The school year is coming to an end.
mhm.
And the expectation is that they will sit there and listen to information being reviewed that they already have been exposed to, or listen to information that's new and coming the next school year.
I'm drinking my water and minding my business. Yes.
Okay, I'm just going to say it. That's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. That's tantamount to watching a movie, in my personal opinion, because you got kids who are ready. When the end of something is drawing near, you are focused on that. And now you want me to learn or listen to you talk about stuff I already heard you talk about during the school year, or tell me the amazing things I'm going to learn at the next school year. Like, it's a small group of students who would be like very like all ears, just sitting waiting for that type of information. How's the behavior in the classroom with that being the guidance that you all are getting from the district?
If you do not have great classroom management throughout the year, you are going to sink at this time of the year. Like it is. I mean, there's a joke. Like, yeah, so we're babysitting at the end of the year.
Mhm.
And this is my first time at this point in the middle school level. And so that's why I said the things that I had planned on doing to
Mhm.
keep their mind engaged. But I'm also an educator who feels like education in schools is more than just the academic part. And I don't think we take enough time to focus on the whole child throughout the year, especially when it gets closer to testing time. That's kind of all people want to talk about is what have
Yeah.
you mastered and what do you know and what content is going to be on the test. And after that, there is a big relief in the kids.
Mhm.
There's a release of the anxiety. But if they're going to keep learning, let's give them some learning that's going to give them life skills. Now that there is time and space to do that.
Yes.
That's kind of where I sit as an educator with this time of year.
Yeah. I feel like there could be, like at the older grades, like kids ages 15 and up. So what is that, like 10th grade and up? Maybe have like a job fair in the cafeteria during the week so that different businesses in the community who need students to work over the summer could come and maybe do some on the spot interviews, give interviewing tips, just give them information about what jobs could be coming available in the summer for the younger kids. Maybe people who have summer camps can come and set up their table in the gym, giving out their information so the kids can take back home. And that brings the community into the school. So it makes it a connection. maybe like some apprenticeship opportunities, like professionals in the community, cosmetologists, barbers, nail techs coming and talking to the high school kids, like, hey, these are things that you can do to work towards this if that is your goal. Business owners, tax attorney, whatever. Have the people in the community come in and talk to the kids to make the most of this kind of downtime as they're going to, as we're approaching the end of the school year. I think that would be intriguing. That would make me want to be like, you know what? I want to make sure I come to school tomorrow because there's something interesting finally happening at school versus let me go listen to my teacher talk to me about something she already taught me earlier this school year.
That I was not interested in when we talked about it then.
Exactly. Like we got to think outside the box for sure. So I think schools need to be charged to do that, to start thinking outside the box. I know younger kids have field day, but that's one day. Like some of these schools are ending with 2 weeks left before the last day of school. Field day ain't gonna cut it. It's just one day.
It does
And
not, it definitely does not, and I love the fact that you're bringing that idea to, like, if we did not have this conversation, like, would that even have been brought out? I think that there has to be more ways to get input from parents, from the community, and not just the same little small group of people that's in the same circle talking to the educators, but like we got to find ways to branch out to more people, a diverse group of people, and have these real conversations so that we can get these kind of ideas. I've never thought about that. And I think that is fabulous. And the kids would love it.
I think so too. And we had somebody comment in the chat about, wonderful idea of bringing the community into the school. That's how you make the connections.
Mhm.
I think that's an amazing opportunity that schools have to connect with the community. Now, I know we're wrapping up, but I want to give some tips to parents as we approach the end of the school year. If you're concerned about your kids' grades, we all are excited about summer, maybe some more than others, but if you're concerned about your kids' grade, make sure you're talking to them about their grades. Are you missing assignments? What's your grade looking like in the class? Check that electronic grading system. If you need to talk to the teacher, reach out at least 2 weeks before the end of the school year so that you can talk to the teacher about what assignments are missing. Is there a chance to make those up? Are there opportunities for extra credit? Email doesn't have to be lengthy, right? I'm sure you appreciate a nice, short, concise email. It can just say, hey, teacher, does my kid have missing assignments? Now, on the teacher side, you might be thinking, I'm going to look in the grading system that you also have access to. But don't worry about that, parents. Just ask the question so that you can get the information. And if you need to talk about summer school, ask those questions too so that you can get things in place proactively instead of reactively. Because once the grades come home, once the final grades are posted in these grading applications, that's it. It's a done deal. And I want to say for every parent whose kid has an IEP, if you don't know where the copy of your IEP is before the end of the school year, ask them to print you another one and send it home. They will print you out a signed copy of the IEP because you need to have that in your hands. If you're transferring schools, even if you're going back to the same school, have the IEP in your hands at the end of the school year for sure.
And I would just add, no matter where your kid is landing grade wise for any of their classes, it's always best to get them to be as high as they can be, to get them to do and finish the best that they can. Because even if they're like, if they're transferring to a different school system, like those grades transfer. So you don't want your kid to enter into a new school system with a horrible grade when all it would have taken is a phone call or email or a text, if that's the type of relationship you have with your teacher.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely reach out. So as we are celebrating the end of the school year, so happy you have one more Monday to go. And then that's the end for you. But make sure that parents, you are reaching out to your kids' teacher, asking those questions, maybe even prompt your kid to ask the question and report back if they're old enough and responsible enough to do that. And then maybe mention to your school principal administration about some of these ways we talked about they can bring the community into the school system, maybe for next school year. Just put that on their plate to think about.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank you all.
We appreciate it. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share the podcast so we can share all of our great information with more and more people. Have a good night.
Absolutely. Good night.
Bye.